Suffolk County Council is strengthening its commitment to its county farms by opposing future sales of its farmland. On the line to tell us more about this and about this topic in general is George Dunn, who's the Chief Executive of the National Tenant Farmers Association. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. Nice to speak to you. I have to say, I'm come across as a little bit ignorant here, but I hadn't really realised that a lot of farms are leased or rented in the sense that they are tenanted farmers rather than the farmers owning their own land.
Yeah, indeed. About 1/3 of the area of farmed land right across England will be farmed by a person who doesn't own that land as a tenant. So they will have a lease or a tenancy agreement over that land. And some big estates, some small estates and local authority estates will be renting out that land.
Yeah. So Suffolk County Council have come out and said that they're committing to keeping any farmland that they own within themselves, which provides a good future for the tenant farmers that are already in situ. What other benefits does this bring for farmers?
Yeah, so the county council network has been established for nigh on 100 years to provide opportunities for individuals to be farmers in their own account where they don't have access to family-owned land or other land in the private sector, and also helping progressive farmers to develop their businesses without having to buy land. And of course, these are income earning assets to the local authorities. So the Suffolk estate brings in about £1 million a year to the Suffolk County Council coffers, which is obviously very helpful. And also you can harvest value from the estate for development opportunity when you can nibble away at the edges and take some land for housing or commercial development. And I think Suffolk has over the past 10 years seen about £9 million of development value. So there's some specific financial benefits, but there's the wider benefit. You've got the ability to think about biodiversity, about natural capital in the county, about renewable energy, about public access, greenbelt management, planning control. So there's all sorts of benefits to the local authority for having this land.
And do you know roughly how many tenants Suffolk County Council have got, or to what extent what sort of area are we talking about here, or people are we talking about that are affected by this?
Yeah, so there's the county council has about 12,000 acres of land owned by the local authority as county council smallholding estates. To that end, it's probably the fourth biggest local authority by area in the country. So Cambridgeshire, not far away, has got just over 30,000 acres. Lincolnshire has got about 17 or 18. Norfolk's got about 16,000. So it's a big chunk of land. We reckon there's about 90 to 100 tenant farmers on that land, but there's obviously turnover with new entrants coming in, people taking on additional land. So it's a big old area.
Yeah. So previously then, what sort of examples would we be looking at in terms of reasons for why a county council or Suffolk County Council may have previously sold the land? What would they say would be a benefit, I guess? I mean, the value of the land for them. But we obviously see land being sold for solar farms, for example. Would that be one of them?
Yeah, so local authorities right across the country often get themselves into difficult financial situations, and there is always the temptation to sell the family silver in order to deal with those financial shortfalls. And we have seen other local authorities sadly take the decision to sell their land. In the west of the country, we've seen local authorities like Somerset, Herefordshire sell their estates. North Yorkshire's another one who has sold their estates. But we always say it's bad financial management is not a good reason to sell a really important asset. Once you've sold it, it's gone forever. And we realise the councils have got frontline services to support, like education and social care, etc., but they will always have those responsibilities. So better management of these estates is really key to ensure that we're delivering annual financial benefits and those development opportunities that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, and I guess with political ways things have changed in the country in the last 10 years in terms of things like Brexit and things like that, that we, as the attention on us as a country, people, it's more in the public domain, more in public mind, that we kind of need to be looking after ourselves and generating as much as we can in our own country, and farming is obviously a very important part of that. And obviously also Clarkson's farm, Jeremy personally watched that show, and it's enlightened me, and I'm sure it's enlightened a lot of people listening about the trials and tribulations of the farming world, and how difficult it is to be a farmer, but also how important all of what they do is for us as a country.
Yeah, it's amazing how much Clarkson's farm has shone a light on our sector, and the conversations that you now have with people that haven't really engaged with the industry previously in a much more informed way. And you're right, whatever side of the argument you were on Brexit, we've all got to be using the Brexit freedoms that we have managed to achieve as well as we possibly can, and that means developing our food security, making sure that we are looking after our environment. You talked about solar farming earlier. We're very concerned that a lot of land gets lost to solar. We're not anti-solar. We've got rooftops we can put solar on very easily, but we need to be taking a land sharing approach between food production, natural capital, environmental outcomes, as well as renewable energy. So you're right, there's a big focus on farmers now, and rightly so, because we provide a very important job, and people need us 3 days a week when they have breakfast, lunch and tea.
Exactly. Just going back to what you mentioned a minute ago, you mentioned some other parts of the country that have already, local authorities that have already sold off their land. Is what Suffolk County Council are doing, is that kind of a turning of the tide? Do you think this is going to be something that other local authorities, have they already, or do you think some will follow suit in committing to this?
So I always characterize this, Tim, a bit like the game that you get at the end of the pier sometimes on the beach, where there's a little box of aliens who pop their heads up and you've got to bop them on the head as they come up. These reviews come up all the time right across the country, where local authorities suddenly realize they've got an asset, they maybe haven't been managing it very well, and they have a review of it. So, some local authorities have decided to sell, some have decided to rationalize and strengthen their local authority stage. Some have just decided to retain, but then not long later another review comes along and the same local authority and a different decision is made. So we've got to be very alive to the widespread issues right across the country and make sure that we're making those arguments to retain. And we're very pleased that Suffolk on this occasion, having done a review, has decided to retain.
Definitely. All right, thank you very much for talking to us this morning, George. Pleasure.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.